The mission of the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council is to work together across neighboring communities to consistently protect and improve the unique and relatively unspoiled character of the physical, economic, and social worlds we share for the benefit of our future generations. Over the years, the state statutory obligations of the regional planning councils have changed. Currently, the state statutes require the regional planning councils to, among other things, provide technical assistance to local governments, assist local governments with economic development activities, cooperate with federal and state agencies for emergency management, perform local hazardous waste management assessments, prepare and adopt a strategic regional policy plan, and provide an annual report of activities to State Land Planning Agency. Our work plan changes annually to accommodate the needs of the region and specific requests of our local governments. For example, Hurricane Irma prompted the federal government to fund a post-disaster coordinator position to help local governments in becoming more resilient in the future. We're proud of our team's dedication and accomplishments this year and look forward to continuing our work in the Southwest Florida region. Now let's take a look at some of our accomplishments in the individual planning areas.
This next project is about some community engagement and facilitation that the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council did after Hurricane Irma. After Irma went through, a lot of the effects of the storm went unknown, and the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council, as well as the Federal Economic Development Administration, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, FEMA, and the Army Corps of Engineers were really interested in finding out what the real impact of the storm was. It'll help prepare for future storms and obviously help with current cleanup, some of which is still going on. The Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council was requested to hold 4 meetings that were held between developers, certain organizations in the area, growers, and other stakeholders to develop these sort of these impact meetings and figure out exactly what went on during Irma and how people were affected. And this will obviously help people to prepare for the storm better in the future, figure out what the weakest areas of the state are in terms of flooding or wind damage, and hopefully make the area more resilient.
We have developed a methodology of calculating ecosystem services, which are the goods and functions which the natural environment provides to everyone for Southwest Florida. And this methodology can be utilized for evaluating conditions as they exist and what happens to those conditions when something occurs, such as sea level rise or an algae bloom or some negative environmental activity, and see what ecosystem services are lost. Or we can show what ecosystem services are provided if you do a restoration on a project area. So as you improve an area like the Everglades restoration, we can show the benefits which come from that in a dollar value. It's already been utilized by both Lee County and Collier County in their land acquisition programs and in evaluating the values of the Conservation 2020 program and the Conservation Collier programs and the benefits which accrue to the public when they do land acquisitions. It's also published nationally. I've talked about this at professional conferences, and other entities have been inquiring on how to do this methodology, which I call EcoServe. This was a unique method that I developed, which doesn't depend upon how people value it so much as the actual service provided. So it's real market values, not perceived or desired values, which is different from other ecoservices methods.
This next project is about the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. corridor. It's an east-west thoroughfare through the entrance of Fort Myers. In 2002, it was widened, which improved traffic and some of the aesthetics, but disrupted the neighborhood fabric of the community. So afterwards, the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council met with the City of Fort Myers, the Fort Myers Redevelopment Agency, and the 21st Century Collaboration to implement a project which was called An Equitable Economy for the Dr. Martin Luther King Corridor. The goal of the project was to increase equity in the area, reduce the negatives of the widening, and to bring out the benefits of the gentrification of the area. 4 community meetings were held, followed by 3 open public meetings where there was a preferential analysis study done to figure out what the public preferred for commercial use, commercial styles, as well as a public art centerpiece and housing types for the area.
Currently, I am the chairman of the training subcommittee for the Local Emergency Planning Committee. As part of the LEPC, we have a grant through the Department of Emergency Management through the state of Florida, which encompasses about $50,000 that we can use for hazardous materials training. This year, we accomplished a few trainings, the first one being a hazardous materials technician class, which composes of 160 hours of training. We did that with about 27 students, and it was in Estero Fire Department. The next big project we did was we created a full-scale exercise in Charlotte County, which encompassed 3 hazardous materials response teams, the one from Charlotte County, one from Sarasota County, and one from the city of Cape Coral. There were 2 major incidents in that exercise. One was an anhydrous ammonia release from a facility in Charlotte County. The second was a tanker truck rollover that was spilling gasoline. And those 3 teams had to respond and mitigate those issues as part of the exercise. The exercise went very well. We had many different participating agencies from Florida Highway Patrol, from Charlotte County Emergency Management, and many different other entities that came out to support and actually see how an exercise would work in Charlotte County with neighboring jurisdictions. Communications is always difficult, but when we were doing the exercise, we noticed that actually our communications worked, which is interesting to see. And our first responders were able to work together even though they had never seen each other before. So it worked out very well as an exercise. The last project we're working on this year is training for the North Collier Fire District, which is going to be for gasoline tanker rollovers and flammable liquids, and that's coming here in the next month.
This next project was about a project that we did for the city of LaBelle. LaBelle reached out to the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council to develop a brochure to increase the amount of day trips that people took to LaBelle. It's kind of a town that's out in central Florida, and they were hoping to increase some tourism by spreading the word for the things that were available in the town. One of which is the Rib and Chili Festival, the Swamp Cabbage Festival, as well as the Wharf Walk and Art Galleries, and LaBelle's very own rodeo show. So the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council received a grant from the Department of Economic Opportunity to develop this brochure, which included a map of the city, as well as a look into LaBelle's accommodation and lodging for visitors, the dining environment, some shops and boutiques, farm nature tours, local entertainment like hunting, fishing, historical places, as well as museums, park centers, and centers of the arts.
Of the many hats I wear, I'm really proud to report that for fiscal year 17, we closed the year with a positive net income, which means we can put more money towards technical assistance for our communities. Our revenues averaged $1.8 million for both fiscal years. Only a quarter of those revenues were from assessments. The other 3/4 were grant awards, which was the result of the hard work and dedication of staff writing and submitting grants. We are excited for the new year and working together to continue the regional collaboration in our communities.